What's up, fam? It's RJ Young. I'm not on a step mill. Today, I want to talk about why I think Lincoln Riley should be up for the Head Coach of the Year awards. Mama's got some words for the College Football Playoff Committee and the defense ahead of Kansas. I want to tell you exactly why I think it's laughable that Mike Gundy is putting forth the 8-team playoff for the third straight year. I want to get into why it's farcical that Athlon Sports would call Manny Diaz one of the best defensive coordinators in the country after he got skull-dragged in the Big 12. I'm also giving away a sticker that you'll be able to screen cap with your phone in the middle of this video somewhere. So keep your eyes peeled for that. All of it's coming up after the bumper. If you're new to my channel, this is your first time here, consider hitting the like button and the subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. And ring the bell so you can join the Sooner Savage Gang notification squad. Alright. Bumper.
Just snap the damn ball, RJ.
So at 34 years old, Lincoln Riley has won the respect and love of many coaches who are in many cases 20 years older than him. I don't think that's a fact that gets enough credit for a guy at 34 years old, myself being 30, to get that kind of respect. Think about this for just a second. After coaching under Mike Leach and then coaching under Ruffin McNeil, he was able to hire Ruffin McNeil on as a defensive assistant. That's how much respect Ruffin McNeil, who's been in this game for a long time, has for Lincoln Riley. But even on top of the fact that when he became the offensive coordinator, Bob Stoops obviously had an eye on Lincoln Riley and immediately knew this is the guy that I want to succeed me after nearly 20 years of coaching at one institution and being one of the most successful coaches in college football history. Now that's a heavy weight to carry at 34 years old. Actually, he was 33 when he got the job. And to start your first season at 9-1 heading into the Kansas game, that's amazing. Now, yes, he had tools in place. He had assistants in place. I mean, it was built for him to take over right this minute. Bob Stoops couldn't have done a better job of setting up Lincoln Riley to be successful. But it's on Lincoln after that to do the job. And one of the ways that I knew he had done the job is in his post-game speech after the big win over TCU, number 6 ranked TCU, where he was able to give credit to the special teams, to the offense, to the defense. But he was also talking about how the kids were playing, and I quote, off the chain. Now, if you looked at the video, which I'll link below in the description, where he says off the chain, you'll see Baker Mayfield kind of looked up and was like, did my coach just say off the chain? Yes, Baker, he said off the chain. And that speaks to Lincoln Riley's ability to connect with his players, to connect with the up-and-coming generation. We saw it again with the signing of the Jordan brand deal. For guys who are older, even guys approaching 35 years old, it's very hard for them to comprehend how big a deal Jordans are to a high school kid. They're a big deal to me, but I'm not regular. You know, I'm in a Prince Hakeem shirt with a fro and I wear J's everywhere I go. But the kids, that's a big deal. And when we're talking about recruiting, that's the kind of thing that kids pay attention to, and for Lincoln Riley to know that and to embrace it wholeheartedly, to keep that conservative, even-keel attitude that you want from a head coach intact while also being able to relate to the players and win football games and run this high-octane offense that's one of the best in college football history, I think deserves more applause than it's getting. I'm not hearing Lincoln Riley's name mentioned for Head Coach of the Year, and I should be. Because in his first year, he's showing you how to succeed a legendary coach at a legendary college football program. It's almost unheard of for somebody to do that well. Usually the guy that follows fails. I mean, think about Will Muschamp succeeding Mac Brown and how that was supposed to go down. You know, the idea of the whole head coaching weighty thing, it's trash usually. It doesn't work out for a number of reasons. It might be attitude, it might be culture, it might be age. There's so many things that could make that kind of situation go wrong. And yet here at Oklahoma, I think in large part also due to Joe Constiglione and President Boren, Lincoln Riley has done nothing but succeed. I was scared when Lincoln Riley took it over because he is so young. And of course, I think that's natural. And the only other guy that I think this is comparable to is Cliff Kingsbury at Texas Tech. But Texas Tech is not a great program, you know? They're a 7-win, 8-win type of program. That's not what OU is. We expect more. We expect to win championships. And for Lincoln to walk in, take the reins to that, and say, it's okay, I got it, guys. I got it. And to go out and win football games, just blows my mind. We talk about what we might do as a head football coach. We talk about what things that we might institute, what things we would want to see. But when you have the job, when you're the guy whose name is on the line, it's very hard to do. As my high school football coach used to say, players win, coaches lose. So Lincoln Riley is 0-1. That's the way that he will see it. And I love that because it puts all the credit on his coaches, on his players. And he's there just to make sure that the ship sails, that it's guided through, that everybody is allowed to play their best football, to coach their best football, to create an environment that's welcoming, that's inclusive, that's fun, that's exciting, and that wins championships. All that's very hard to do, extremely hard to do at the young age that Lincoln Riley is at. And I hope he's able to have the kind of run, if not better, that Bob had. Because, again, Bob Stoops' tenure at OU was unheard of. For a guy to have the same college football head coaching job at a blue blood program like ours may not ever happen again. But if it does happen again, I want it to happen to Lincoln Riley. I think he's a great guy. I think he's a great coach. And I want to see his name mentioned up there, at least in 2017, as one of the best college football coaches in the game today. I think you guys would be on board with that too.
Hello, so I'm pissed. I just cannot believe that college football ranking committee did that to us. I mean, us number 4, and then they hopscotched the Miami over us. That right there, that sent me into a conniption. I'm glad I wasn't on here with you guys when it happened. It was ugly. And then Clemson, who got beat by Syracuse, all over us. I can't take it. I can't take it. It has come to my attention that this particular committee is about, I won't say that word here, but it's doo-doo. Guys, listen to me. Defense, I think you did a better job last game. You are growing. Listen to me. Baker, this is our chance to just mollywop somebody. Let's mollywop them. Defense, you step it on up. Step it on up and do what I know you can do. Every game from here on out means something. And with Kansas, or is it Kansas City? Is it Kansas State? Jayhawks. Rock Chalk Jayhawk. Okay, I'm a Rock Chalk Jayhawk. I think I can beat the OU Sooners. Ain't happening. Ain't happening. Rock Chalk this. Defense, I just want you guys to step it on up. Hey, if you don't feel good, take your naps that you need and get on out there and do your job. This committee is doo-doo. They obviously have a thing for, I guess, defenses. Because otherwise, there's nothing that we shouldn't have over Clemson and Miami. This is making me
Crazy.
Now I'll calm down. RJ, you can have it again. Because I don't know what else to say.
This is where I flash the sticker. Screen cap it now. Pause. Screen cap. All right, onward. Athlon Sports has an article up that says Manny Diaz is doing work at Miami. Of course, I'm paraphrasing because Athlon Sports would never be so gangster as to put doing work in a headline. But this brings me back to this whole thing about Big 12 offenses versus former Big 12 defenses. And the fact of the matter is, Manny Diaz was trash in the Big 12. He got skull dragged. You know, like, why does this get forgotten about? When former Big 12 defensive coordinators leave to go somewhere else and have some success, they're lauded as one of the better defensive coordinators in the game? No, it's wrong that Big 12 offenses are not getting the kind of credit that they deserve. OU's offense is historic. I've been over that. We know that. But we also know that Tom Herman's Texas team can put up points. We know that West Virginia's Dana Holgorsen team can put up points. We knew that Doug Meacham, even down at Kansas, can put up a few points every now and again. What I'm saying here is that the offenses in the Big 12 are so lopsided and so good that it doesn't put enough shine on the offenses because the defenses just have a hard time keeping up. I mean, what does it say that TCU was ranked number 6 in the country in defense and got mollywopped by 38 points by my Sooners. So I don't understand giving love to Manny Diaz if you watched him at Texas. I don't get that. Now, on the flip side, you could say the same thing about Venables, I think. You know, I love Brent Venables. I liked him when he was at OU. I didn't want to see him go. But he went to Clemson. Clemson's defense turned into a juggernaut in the ACC and eventually won a national championship. I don't think that kind of stuff gets mentioned about how Venables more or less got demoted and then resigned because he was getting beat up in the Big 12 by Big 12 offenses. I don't understand how national media in particular, but also the college football playoff committee, doesn't take into account how good these offenses are. Everybody seems to be geared toward what defenses are doing, except in the Big 12 where all we do is put up points. Lynn Spencer keeps putting a defense on the field that looks like garbage. Like it just looks trash if you go down the depth chart, you go down the roster, and yet they still play okay. Like they look like they should be getting skull dragged, and they don't get skull dragged. They're okay. Like I don't understand. I don't, and yet I do understand. And yet I do understand. Because there's such an SEC bias in college football, and in the SEC, they know how to play defense, but you could say they also don't know how to play offense, you know? One of my knocks on Alabama is ask them to run a spread and they're through. Because all you got to do is stop the run with Alabama and you stop them. Jalen Hurts is not that good. You know, Jalen Hurts is good, but he would get eaten alive in the Big 12. All right. He holds the ball too long. He's too dependent on his feet to make plays. He's trying to if he can't hand the ball to Bo Scarborough or Damian Harris, it's a wash. If you can stack up and you can put 8 men in the box and you can stop Calvin Ridley, who's not that good, you can beat Alabama. Like the blueprint is there. We saw the blueprint again in Mississippi State. Heck, we beat them like they stole something. It's 4 years ago. Sugar Bowl. Hello? Look at what we did to Auburn last year. You know, I don't understand. You know, so miss me with Manny Diaz is a great defensive coordinator because he's at Miami in the ACC, which is trash. I mean, after you get past Miami and Clemson, what you got? Vatek? Really? You gonna roll with Vatek? Huh? Or you gonna try to claim Notre Dame now? Who also got skull dragged. Like, I don't understand. I don't get it. You know, the Big 12 just does not get enough love. And it's going to take OU winning the national championship for the people to get reminded of how good the Big 12 is. I mean, sometimes I used to think this is a podunk conference. You know, I used to think that the Big 12 was really not that great a conference. But that's not true. The Big 12 is an outstanding conference. It's outstanding from an offensive standpoint, it's outstanding from a recruiting standpoint, it's outstanding from a put players in the league standpoint. All right? We're doing the most with 10 teams. Give us 2 more teams and the balance of power shifts. Like, give us back A&M and Missouri and the balance of power shifts. Though I wouldn't want A&M and Missouri back. I'm just using that, you know, as an example. I mean, SEC, y'all can keep A&M and Missouri. We got sites elsewhere. I don't think enough is said about how good the offenses in this conference are. I don't think enough is said about how Mike Leach birthed an entirely different offensive conference. Think about it. Before Mike Leach got to OU, it was I-formation pro-style offenses in the Big 12. You know, it was 3 yards and a cloud of dust. And now you have the air raid as ubiquitous. It's everywhere. You know, the only people that don't run it on a consistent basis are in Kansas State, and it's Bill Snyder. Because Snyder doesn't sleep. He schemes and he can never recruit because he's got a bunch of JUCO rejects playing for him. You know, guys with water pistols for arms. He turns it into a math problem where he makes it where he's going to have one guy that you can't block. You know, and that's Bill Snyder, and that's an entirely different brand of football. But you look at the other 9 teams in the Big 12, and we're all doing the same thing. You know, so I don't think enough gets said about that. I came across an article on the Tulsa World website where it seems Mike Gundy is back at it again with his want for an 8-team playoff. Now, I like an 8-team playoff, but I found it really, really funny that Mike Gundy uses the Big 12 teleconference call to say, hey, how about an 8-team playoff? Because, well, he can't beat OU. And I'm going to get into that in just a second, but Mike Gundy's philosophy right now is that the committee has too much sway over who makes the college football playoff. And while that's got some merit, it's particularly funny coming from Mike Gundy because Mike Gundy knows that all roads to the college football playoff for Oklahoma State run through that back there, OU. And since he can't really beat OU on a regular basis, now he's like, well, maybe there's a workaround. Because if you can't beat OU, you can't win a Big 12 title. If you can't win a Big 12 title, you can't make the college football playoff. It's that simple. So rather than go out and recruit better or coach better or, beat Oklahoma on a regular basis instead of catching these L's all the time, he's back for an 18 playoff. Look, there's some merits to this. I understand, right? Because say you're Oklahoma last year, right? Where you got a good enough resume to where a lot of people think that perhaps you should be in the playoff, but you don't make it because, well, the committee doesn't think your resume is strong enough. In an 18 playoff, you can also get a team like, and this is how I know Mike Gundy was thinking about this before he got to the teleconference. He invokes Western Michigan, who somehow he believes deserved to have a chance to play for the national championship in a playoff. I don't see it that way, man. Look, if you're Western Michigan and you go undefeated and you're not in a Power Conference 5, I get it. It sucks. You might not get in. So on that basis, I believe an 18 playoff. But as my man Tyler O'Neill points out, we also have to make room for Notre Dame in an 18 playoff. Now, I don't like that we'd have to make room for Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame should have to join a football conference because Notre Dame doesn't want to share any money. And I get it, right? They work very hard to establish their reputation and they can do what they want. But I feel like if we're going to have an 18 playoff, we're not going to have a Notre Dame clause. Look, you're either going to be in a Power 5 conference where if you win your conference, right, you get an automatic bid to the 18 playoff. And there are only 5 power conferences. So I think that if you win your conference title, you should be in. That would leave you got 3 potential wildcard spots for, teams outside those Power 5 conferences. And Notre Dame, for me, should be among those teams. They should be among the Western Michigans, among the Boise States, among the San Diego States. Because I don't feel like we should have to make a rule that lets Notre Dame in on this grand scheme if Notre Dame doesn't want to share revenue with another conference. Like, that's why we have the Big 12. We have the Big 12 because, well, we're better together. And if we share money that comes from Oklahoma and Texas with Kansas, then Notre Dame can share money that comes from Florida State and Clemson with Virginia. Or if they, for some reason, decide to join the SEC with Vanderbilt. How do you think Alabama fans feel about having to share revenue with Vandy or Tennessee this year? I bet they're not happy about it at all. But they do it because power conferences matter. Because being able to say that you play in the SEC or play in the Big 12 or play in the Big 10 or play in the Pac-12 is good. It's good for the brand. It's good for getting you into the things like the college football playoff. So on its face there, I don't like the Notre Dame exemption. Now, also, an 18 playoff's a lot more fun, right? Just purely. It's just purely going to be a lot more fun. More teams, the better. Now, I think after you get past 8, you got a problem. Okay, because then we're talking about 3 lost teams, and I don't want 3 lost teams to have a chance to play for a national championship. It would just make the regular season mean nothing. And I'm not about that. College football has the best regular season in sports, and I want to keep that intact as much as I can. And I don't know that you can do that once you get past an 18 playoff. But I think that this argument needs to be put forth by somebody other than Mike Gundy, who's been doing it for 3 years. And why has he been doing it for 3 years? Because he can't beat OU. Look, man, if Mike Gundy could win a Big 12 championship without beating OU, there would be no Mike Gundy argument. There would be no argument for, hey, maybe we need to start thinking about putting more teams into the college football playoff. No. Look, you're in the same state that we are. You have a series that we allow you to play with us. Go win instead of being 87-18 to us. We got 7 ties, but just go win instead of taking L's all the time. Bro, that makes me upset to know that it's got to come from a guy like Mike Gundy. If it was coming from a guy like Jimbo Fisher, maybe I would give this some more merit, If it was coming from, I don't know, UCLA, USC, a blue blood that doesn't have a problem competing for a conference championship on a regular basis, this would have a lot more weight, have a lot more sway. But as it stands right now, I don't really like it. Now, again, if I was Oklahoma State, I would probably make the same argument, but I'm not. You know, I have 7 national championships. You know, more Big 12 championships than we can count. Consensus All-Americans. So we don't need to make that argument. Right now, we're arguing about whether or not OU should be number 2 or number 3 tonight when the college football rankings come out. So I get it. Mike Gundy showed up with an agenda. He showed up with something he had to say on the teleconference. And it ended up being, again, about an 18 playoff in November because he knows that his chances of winning the Big 12 title are going down the drain. And his chances, even if they won the Big 12 championship of making the college football playoff, are gone. They cannot do it. So, yeah, if he's going to be in this position every year, he wants to start heading toward a direction where he can get back to Boone and get back to Hargis and say, look, we're going to be able to play for a national championship. No, you're not. No, you're not. Get better. Get good, son. Otherwise, just miss me with your 18 playoff wants and desires. Alright, fam, that's it for me. If you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you tomorrow. Deuces.